Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at riddles you must solve to stay alive. If you got stuck in a tricky situation, do you think you could make it out alive? Well, this video will be a chance to see how smart you actually are. Wait for the poll at the end of the video and you'll see how smart you are depending on how many you got right. But before we start the riddles, why not subscribe and press the notification bell too? Coming up first, we have shipwreck. Jake is going on the cruise of his life. He's spent a ton of money for a ticket for a cruise that goes around the world. But moments after setting off, the ship crashes into a massive iceberg. Jake's bedroom is on one of the lower decks. This means his bedroom begins to fill up with water very quickly. He can't swim and the water's coming in from the door. Now, luckily there is a lifeboat coming in 10 minutes, but it will only be 5 minutes until the whole room is flooded. Now, seeing as Jake's not David Blaine, he can't hold his breath for 5 minutes. But Jake does have 3 objects in his room he may be able to use. Those objects are a straw, a lighter, and a bucket. Only one of those objects will be able to save Jake's life, but which one? I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds on screen right now to save Jake's life. Okay, did you work out which of these 3 objects Jake has to use to save his life? Many people may think that you could create a snorkel device out of a straw, but that simply would not work if the water went above the straw. You may think that you could use the lighter to somehow evaporate the water, but let's be real, that's not gonna work. So the actual answer was the bucket. But how can you use the bucket to save Jake's life? What Jake needs to do is put the bucket over his head. This will actually create an air bubble underwater. The water's pressure will actually go around the bucket, meaning that Jake will be able to breathe inside the bucket. But if you didn't save Jake, then don't worry. Try some of the other riddles on this list. Next up is the dry lake. A dry lake is a lake found in a desert. Well, one day Matthew was stuck in the desert without water. He'd somehow got lost out in the Nevada desert and he'd been wandering around in the boiling hot heat for many hours. He was getting very dehydrated until he came across a dry lake. This is a lake with water which is found in the desert. But there's one problem with water in dry lakes, which is that it's salt water. Obviously, salt water simply makes you even more dehydrated. There are also some dry trees by the lake with big leaves. And all Matthew has with him is a bottle, a plate, and some matches. So using what's around him, how can Matthew survive? I'll give you guys 10 seconds on screen to try and work it out. Did you get it? If so, then you're truly a survival genius. What Matthew has to do is make a fire. He can do this with the matches. He'd then need to collect some water in the bottle. He then needs to put that bottle of water over his fire. The water will then evaporate, removing the salt. He can then capture this evaporation using one of the leaves from the trees. And he can use this leaf to funnel that water into his bowl. So there we go. If you're a reincarnation of Bear Grylls, maybe you got this one right. But if you didn't, don't worry. This one was a hard one. Next up is the assassin. One day, a Russian assassin was hired to take out a target in London, UK. The target is currently staying at the Mayfair Hotel in London. So the assassin flies from Moscow to London. He goes to the receptionist at the hotel and pays him for the information. In exchange for a lot of money, the receptionist tells the assassin where the target's room is. The receptionist says he's staying on floor 4, room 7. So the assassin goes up to the hotel door and fires some shots into it. But when he opens it, he realizes he's taken out the wrong person. But how could this have happened? I'll give you guys some time on screen now to try and work it out. Did you guys work this out? If you did, then you should join MI6 or maybe the KGB. You see, this is all about location. In the UK, the first floor is called the ground floor, whereas in other countries, the first floor would be the floor on the ground. So really, the assassin accidentally took out the person on the 3rd floor, room 7. However, because in the UK the first floor is called the ground floor, his target was on the 4th floor, room 7. In other countries it would have been the 4th floor, but in the UK it was the 3rd. Next up is the billionaire. One day, a billionaire was found to not be alive. He was lying on the ground in a puddle of water with a wound in his heart. However, there was nothing found anywhere to suggest what made the wound. At the time, there were only 3 workers for the billionaire in the house. One of them was his maid, the other was his gardener, and the third was his cook. The maid said she didn't see anything as she's been cleaning all day. The gardener said he'd been tending to the roses and hadn't realized anything was happening. And the cook said he'd been preparing some ice sculptures for a party that was going on later. So with that information, can you work out who killed the billionaire? I'll give you guys some time on screen to work it out right now. Did you guys get it? Well, the answer was the billionaire's cook. The billionaire had made an ice knife. That's why the billionaire was lying in a puddle of water. You see, the ice had melted, meaning there was no murder weapon. But hopefully if you're a good private investigator, you would have worked it out and arrested the cook. So did you get this one wrong, or did you get it right and you're a regular Sherlock Holmes? Next up is Man in the Bushes. One day, a cop stumbled across a man in a bunch of bushes. The guy was not alive and it was clear someone had hit him over the head. The cop checked the guy's pockets and found a wallet, a phone, and some keys. And just by doing this, the cop was able to confirm that he'd been taken out somewhere else and then was moved here. But how did the cop know this guy had been killed elsewhere and then dumped here? I will give you guys 10 seconds to work it out right now. Alright, did you guys get it right? Are you Poirot? Well, the reason why the cop knew somebody must have moved him here was because of his broken arm. His right arm is broken. So if that's the case, how could he have put these items in his right pocket? This confirms somebody else must have taken him out and then put this stuff in his pocket. Next up is Tightrope. One day a spy was caught by an evil villain. The evil villain devised a very cruel punishment for this captured spy. He said he must climb on this tightrope and jump into one of 4 containers. Inside one of the containers was acid. Inside another container was wet cement. Inside the 3rd container was raging hot fire. And another tank contained a shark that hadn't eaten in 6 months. So which fate does the spy have to pick? He has to let go of the tightrope at some point, but into what tank? I'll give you guys 10 seconds now to work out which one he should go into. Well, in case you didn't get it, the answer was the shark tank. Remember, this shark hadn't eaten in 6 months. This means the shark would have almost definitely starved in that time and would not be alive. So really, the spy would have just been in a tank full of water and a shark's body. If you got this right, then well done. You think logically and are able to get out of sticky situations. Next up, we have the hitchhiker. One day, a woman named Mary phoned the police. She said her husband Bill had just been murdered on the road. She said her and her husband were driving down the road when they saw a hitchhiker. He said he was going to the airport and had a suitcase. Seeing as it was on the way to where Mary and Bill were going, they pulled over and Bill got out to help the man. Bill put the man's suitcase in the trunk. But as he was doing this, the man shot him and ran off. But as soon as cops got to the scene, they arrested Mary. But why did they do this? I'll give you some time on screen now to work it out. Alright, did you guys get this correct? Well, the reason why is because there was no suitcase in the trunk. Even if the guy ran off with it, there would have been some cleared space in the trunk. But the fact that there wasn't means Mary was lying and she was the one who shot Bill. So those were some seriously brainy survival riddles. But now it's time to tell me how well you did. In total, there was 7 riddles. If you got all 7 right, then well done, you are a genius. If you got 6 to 5 right, then you're very smart. If you got 4 to 3 right, then that's pretty good going. If you got 2 or 1 right, then you need to improve. Maybe you should do some more of my riddle videos. And if you got 0 right, then you really need to have a coffee and wake up. If you guys want some more amazing videos, then why not check out my second channel? There's a link to that on screen in a moment. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.